Hi, my name is Tyler Fornes, and I am the co-host of The Good, the Bad, and the Hunky here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Every week, my co-host Fred Moreland and I discuss all the happenings of All Elite Wrestling and everything going on in the universe of Tony Khan. We talk about Dynamite, we talk about Rampage, and we will talk about Collision when the time comes as well, along with all the appearances outside of AEW from all the best talents in All Elite Wrestling. This is one of the more cohesive wrestling companies in the entire world, and we discuss every intricacy about it, including the unique booking of Tony Khan that is both a huge positive and a major detriment. Check us out every single Thursday here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hey kids, do you like professional wrestling? Well, we like professional wrestling too. This is Shake Them Ropes. I am the returning Jeff Hawkins, along with the always has been here, Chris Novembrino.
The conquering Chris Novembrino.
Save me from tomorrow. I don't want to sail on this ship of fools. Rest in peace, Carl Wallinger, the man behind the band World Party. Which, are you aware of World Party?
I am aware of World Party as a band, but also as a concept.
As a concept. I love that song. Thank you all for all your thoughts and prayers. My father passed away last week. A little bit of an anecdote. My father has a very complicated relationship with professional wrestling in that he didn't really like it all that much, but he always would go, so Jeff, you still doing that blog? It's like, yes, I'm still doing the podcast, Dad. You might remember this story if you're a long-time listener, but Rob McCarron challenged my father to name 5 professional wrestlers. I think this was around the time of Roddy Piper's death, and we were positive that Roddy Piper would be one of them, and he was. It went Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, because my dad was convinced that his secretary had told him that she had dated Roddy Piper in Virginia Beach in the 80s, which might be true. Piper did work Crockett in the early 80s. I just thought he was married at the time, so maybe girlfriend, or maybe my father was just getting worked. I don't know. So it was Flair, Hogan, Piper. It was either Dusty or Magnum TA, because Magnum TA was from my area, or might have been does it. And then the 5th one, which just knocked me over with a feather, was Cowboy Billy Watts. And I don't know if he saw him in Florida or if he had incepted it that he had seen him with Hogan in the WWF at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, but that doesn't match with any timeline. But at the same time, when Watts had written his autobiography, he marketed it by doing a tour of churches, and Bill Watts spoke at my father's church. So that's how he knew who Cowboy Bill Watts was. But I think he incepted him into other wrestling memories, possibly. Look, I love my father. I'm gonna miss him. But we also had knockdown dragouts over whether or not I could watch 605 the second hour because Star Trek: The Next Generation was on, and this might be the episode where they're in the engineering room for a story. And that was my dad, because he worked in the engine rooms of ships in the Navy. So, I want to watch it, in case the engineering guys are on. Loved Scotty from the original. And thanks to Chris and his friend from the brewery for holding fort down here, doing an episode in my absence.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the look back at a bad era of professional wrestling. Sometimes it's nice to be reminded of how bad things were to get context for where things are at currently.
Things are good right now.
God.
Yeah, I don't understand a lot of the narrative right now, like especially like the New York Post this week had an article that WWE should be ashamed of themselves for missing out on Osprey, Okada, and Mercedes as free agents. I'm like, WWE is about to sell out 2 nights of Philadelphia's football stadium for WrestleMania, and AEW needed those guys even more.
Right.
I mean,
They need them more. Yeah, they're two different teams with two different needs, and
yeah,
Okada helps AEW far more than if he came to WWE right now, because if you were going to slot in Okada, what does he do? He maybe what you do, best case scenario, in a realistic world, is you have him come in and he has a knockdown, drag out, banger, awesome match with Gunther.
yeah.
That's step one. Then
if he starts on the main roster,
right, then he's Intercontinental Champion. And I don't know what. I mean, you make him, just the Dynamo, Ultimate Warrior like Intercontinental Champion, but there's not a clear path for him there. It's kind of what they're doing in AEW, but that's only because they don't want to belt him yet. But like in AEW, he has a very clear path to being their champion, being, the guy who beats Joe or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you put it best. They're two teams with two different needs. And look, you'd love to have Osprey, but they don't need him. And he may not have fit in that environment. Oh, he's a great wrestler. He'd fit in. Okay. He's British. The American audiences may not dig him. I mean, the WWE audience is very,
I think it's going to take a minute for the voice to get over. He has a very distinct voice.
Yeah,
and
I just
think it might just take a minute.
But the discussion around it is so silly because it's revolving around pundits. And look, pundits have been wrong all the time. I love me some Uncle Dave, but he and I argued a little bit over Ricochet being
but
a
wait. Could you imagine what WWE could do with Mercedes Moné?
Wait, what? They give her some dumb name like Sasha Banks, and then they just
right, yeah.
So we're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back a little bit for news from the past couple weeks. So some of this may be a little bit old, but it's not ancient. So Kevin Kelly let go by AEW. He had been the number 2 chair on Collision on Saturday. Jeff needing to issue a bit of a mea culpa. I was under the impression that this had something to do possibly with the blow up on Twitter with Kevin Kelly, and also the, that it had been a situation that was going on with Ian Riccobone's messages on the Voices of Wrestling Discord, which you can join by going to voicesofwrestling.com, by the way. But I was told that it had nothing to do with that, as a matter of fact, and that there was a personality issue there, and it just wasn't a good fit. That said, I am still of the opinion, I went out on a limb here, and it wasn't anything personal, but because of Riccobone's comments in the Voices of Wrestling Discord, I thought he should have been let go. Obviously, there's no cause and effect there, so I don't need to bang that drum any longer, but yeah, Kevin Kelly wasn't a great fit. I mean, if you watch him on Collision, he and Nigel still had the old kind of chemistry from when they worked together on both, I believe, Ring of Honor and New Japan. I don't recall if Nigel ever worked New Japan before going over to NXT UK. But Shivani had taken the majority of the play-by-play calling duties. It's just, to me, it's a sad situation because Kelly gave up being the play-by-play guy for New Japan to come take this job, and then it just turned out being the wrong move for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes that happens, but you also have to know what you're getting yourself into when you enter into a new work dynamic. And with AEW in particular, commentary really, really crowded right now. And
a lot of people, and they could get
a lot of people. They're sort of overloaded with commentators. So also you can imagine that it's not impossible to be butting heads with various people in the booth too.
Yeah,
so
and it might have just been a situation where he had some autonomy in another situation. Now he's being produced. and that might have rubbed him the wrong way a bit. I mean, I don't know the details of it. I was just told it was a personality clash. Ronda Rousey, some book excerpts from her upcoming autobiography have been getting out there. The most prevalent of in MMA, I originally just started beef for publicity, but those other B words did not get the memo, and so they became personal. And in WWE, it's all fake. I love them, except for Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis. They can go F themselves. That's real. Oh, nobody likes Bruce Pritchard or John Laurinaitis.
No.
Yeah, she had a lot to say. She called Vince McMahon the Emperor Palpatine of WWE. I read some of these other excerpts that are making the rounds from the PR packet that they sent out there. A lot of these feel like, just standard ghost written type of things that were explanation of what WWE was. Oh yes, and Stephanie McMahon was his daughter, and Vince McMahon got big by taking his father's territory and putting all his father's friends out of business, et cetera, et cetera. I there's nothing that really stood out to me other than the Bruce Pritchard and John Laurinaitis taking a stray because they deserve it.
Right. I mean, just once again, the recurring theme of these two guys were the Neo Stooges in the later era here for Vince. The replacement Patterson and Briscoes. Laurinaitis in particular. He was very happy to be that guy.
Oh, they were in the great game, as we like to say, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Jackie Crockett, brother of David, son of, I believe he's the son of Crockett Jr. I can't remember the family here. No, he was brother of Crockett Jr. and David. Never mind. Jackie Crockett passing away. Longest reigning Crockett in wrestling because he remained a cameraman until the end of WCW in 2001, even after Turner bought out Crockett and continued as a Turner property. He at times handled the localized television interviews with talent when it was still a territory, but I think a lot was glossed over about one certain aspect of Jackie Crockett that if you weren't a regular watcher of the WWE network when it was still a network, you might have missed. I believe it was a WWE 24. Jackie Crockett is single-handedly responsible for helping Ron Killings turn his life around and get into professional wrestling after serving time in prison and whatnot. He had met Ron Killings in a halfway house and it said, "Hey, I'd like to give you a job or whatever." And Killings for like 3 years said no. And Crockett was basically saying, "Hey, look, you can do all the music and all the rapping stuff, and it can be part of this wrestling thing," because Killings had been a high school star around Charlotte, North Carolina. And there's an episode of WWE 24 where after like 20 years, they hadn't seen each other. They reunite, and you can just tell just how grateful Ron Killings was for Jackie Crockett, making that call and having faith in him and being willing to introduce him to the wrestling business. That kind of got glossed over in The Observer too, which was kind of sad because, I mean, yeah, Crockett was a member of a very famous family, but and maybe I'm a little emotional because my dad was that kind of person to really get involved in the lives of people that he thought were trouble and try and help them turn around. But Ron Killings' career is all because of Jackie Crockett, and Jackie Crockett basically saying, "Hey, if you don't get on the straight and narrow, you're going to end up back in prison." And it really is a touching story. I think there's video of it on YouTube still. I'm not sure if you can find it on Peacock, but search it out. It's a very, very touching reunion between the two of them.
Oh, that's nice. And I think it's also a reminder that, I mean, even if you come from a big family, people have these like multidimensional lives that are more than just being, the member of the family or whatever. Yet another Crockett.
Jackie Crockett was great at also just filming wrestling. If you watch like those, the JCP Mid-Atlantic shows, I mean, really got in there close and snug without, giving away the game, so to speak. I think he might have actually been the first person in that War Games match to cut a hole in the cage and film that way through a thing. So and to have that kind of longevity from like the early 80s until 2001 and being the last man standing of a family where it's like, oh, he's not a threat to he's not going to be sore about us buying out his family and then getting rid of them all or whatever kind of thing. I mean, it kind of speaks to your character that you can stay that long in a cutthroat industry such as wrestling.
No joke. Yeah, I think that says something too. Although sometimes different things.
An article in Front Office Sports on March 11th, written by Tim Marchman, John Pollock, and Brandon Thurston, revealed that WWE President Nick Khan, WWE COO Brad Bloom, former WWE co-CEO Stephanie McMahon, and former head of WWE Legal Brian Nurse were the four mystery executives talked about in the Janelle Grant lawsuit against Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, and the WWE. The lawsuit listed corporate officer number 1, which was Khan, and number 2, Bloom, as having knowledge that Grant was employed and was brought into the company by McMahon, but also that they did not necessarily have direct knowledge of any of the lewd stuff alleged in the deposition. I think heads are eventually going to roll, Chris.
I'm amazed Levesque's not named in this.
I was too. Everybody.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting in the intervening week. You know, like we didn't talk about it last week. I did see the headline. I almost. Initially, we were gonna do like a review of the shows of the week and the headlines and all that crap too. But I was like, man, this has got to drop on Hunter at some point, and I'm just amazed it hasn't yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is plausible deniability. I mean, you could know that yes, Vince McMahon is having a relationship with this woman, but you don't know the extent of it, and you'd really. There's some people who just go, hey, I don't want to know. I'm just showing up to work every day. I'm just doing my best here in my job right now.
I think Hunter was very good about his paper trail. I'm just still amazed. I'm still amazed that, he hasn't caught up to him yet.
WWE Hall of Fame inductees. The class has been rounded out with Rocky Maevia's mother. I didn't write down her name. I think it's Leigh Maivia. Thunderbolt Patterson, which is a very interesting choice. And the team of the U.S. Express of Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda. To me, this basically kind of says that there will be a late addition, and I think Bray Wyatt is going to get inducted, as both Windham and Rotunda are related to Bray Wyatt. And also just the fact that Windham Rotunda team was very good. But there are other teams in the WWE history that are worth celebrating. Although one of the trivia things is that Eye of the Tiger by Survivor, or no, was it that or was it Real American? I can't remember. I think both were used as their theme originally. Damn, I'm messing up my own trivia, Chris.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Why did Express become the default tag team convention name for tag teams in the 80s? Like the Midnight Express were first, right? And they're named after the movie, but
I think there might have been an Express in Memphis.
When was the decision made where it's like the US Express, the Rock and Roll Express? Like, you had all these different expresses.
I want to say
are these men trains?
Well, yeah, it was based on, they'll hit you like a freight train.
They hit you like a freight. They just never stop coming.
Yeah, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation. You had the Midnight Express, you had the Orient Express.
The Orient Express, yeah, there you go.
It was a Kiyosato and Pat Tanaka, and then Kiyosato had enough of that, and they brought back Paul Diamond to a team with Tanaka as bad company in the AWA. You had the Lightning Express of Tim Horner and Brad Armstrong. You had the Zambui Express, I believe that was Ray Candy. That even predated didn't predate the original Midnight Express, which was Condrey, Rose, and Norvell Austin, I believe in World Class. But from what I know, and I don't have a direct answer for you, but I believe it just had to do with trains.
Trains, yeah. I mean, I like trains.
Yeah. Thunderbolt Patterson's an interesting one because he was one of those guys. He's a pretty good promo, especially if you watch like in the old Georgia days where he and Ole are kind of raising hell. But he was also one of those guys who totally wanted a wrestling union in the bag if he could just gather the boys, and would always like end up burning a bridge because it's like, we need to unionize and go on strike. Yeah, you're not working here any longer, Thunderbolt Patterson. We'll talk to you later, type of a thing. I don't think Vince would have ever let him in
No.
the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, it's an interesting choice, but it's still kind of weird given his history with the business and stuff, because he was kind of a rabble rouser in terms of getting paid, and difficult for bookers and whatnot. But it's gonna do it for our news segment. Observer hasn't come out yet, so we're just going back. So we're gonna go into our lazy river of wrestling criticism. Whatever we watched this week, whatever's on our mind, past, present, perhaps future. We'll start with that. Chris, I will let you go on this lazy river. There's a lot of wrestling to cover. We sometimes get to all of it.
I thought that Okada and Kingston had an above average, albeit not great match. Like, I thought Kingston over delivered, but I didn't really feel I didn't ever really feel like he had a chance of beating Okada.
I felt
Which
like
was-
there needed to be a tonal shift in there. At
Right.
some point where Kingston goes, okay, this all Japan love letter isn't working. Now I need to beat him up a little bit more. That kind of thing. Like almost like the guy who is way in over his head, and he's just being desperate to throw whatever he could at this guy who's obviously outclassing him. It was a
Yes.
good match though. I mean,
No, I know.
Eddie Kingston.
It was a good match for Eddie. I needed to see a pathway to victory for the guy throughout this
Yeah.
match. And I'm totally with you. I think coming in there and initially trying to do your Japanese strong style homage, only to change gears mid match and just go street on Okada and have that get the upper hand on Okada. Basically, I would have Okada on his heels the second Kingston starts going street on him. The second it starts going outside and he's just throwing him into the stairs and stuff. Okada just needs to be selling like he's dying. And then have Okada, I guess, get the upper hand. I'm sorry, he's a heel, and you got to make sure this audience sticks with the program here. He needs to cheat in this match. He needed to cheat to win.
Well, he kind of, he did, but they didn't. I mean, with the gouging of the eyes type of a thing, but it wasn't big enough.
He needed to cheat Kingston out of this title.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I like that he just dominated Eddie Kingston after a while. I like that idea of having the heel that doesn't have to cheat necessarily, but will occasionally. And I didn't. I may push back on you a little bit there. I didn't think he had to here. I just personally don't understand.
I don't think he needed outside assistance. I want to be clear. Like,
Yeah.
but I think he should have low blowed Kingston or something.
Maybe. I think this belt is beneath Okada. I gotta be honest with you. I see Okada as being a top of the card type of guy, and
I agree with this.
I don't get me wrong. I think he can elevate the title. Okay, maybe, but at the same time, it's like we already have like 3 other singles titles in this company. I don't know.
This is the problem. Going back to the news segment just real quickly. This is the problem with getting Okada, right? You have to get this guy into the title picture essentially immediately. Joe's a perfect transitional champion to have feud with Okada, to get the belt off of, to get the belt onto Okada. Because, like, he can have these really great matches with Okada and, swim deep with him and get him over real good. But, like, Okada should basically be in the Joe title picture already.
You know what it was is they shouldn't have ever put him in this match on week 2. Just have him be a force, because look, there's a line of guys already. We have Joe, we have Swerve, we have Ospreay, and all 3 of those guys are getting the title. I mean, Joe has the title, but the other 2 are getting this title before Okada ever does. So we could have taken our time and just have Okada just be a jerk heel for a few weeks before putting him into any kind of title match whatsoever, unless we're going to make him a belt collector. But we've already done that with Kenny.
I'll go one step further then. Was the Swerve push right now the best timing because you're signing all these big names.
Yeah.
Your Ospreys, your Okadas. Swerve's not intriguing like Okada is a champion.
Here's the thing. Joe is the best champion for this company right now. And it's good that he is a guy who can handle himself on the microphone and get over a program and look good in a suit. He's really, I mean, again, no offense to any of the other champions who each brought their own little thing, but they are also experimenting a little bit as champion.
Joe knows how to be a champion. He's not experimenting at all.
Joe feels like the big guy in the company. And to me, them rushing a Swerve one-on-one feud with Joe immediately after he got beat in that triple threat was a mistake. I think look, he's over. Don't get me wrong. Swerve is massively over as a babyface right now. But the thing was, he needs to do that rebuilding run to then make me, I mean, if he wins the title now, it feels kind of like, oh, I just lost and I get a title shot right now. So I win in April, kind of a thing. It feels like they're rushing the belt onto Swerve to get it onto Ospreay at Wembley. That's what it feels like to me in some ways. And I think the slow burn and the slow build of bringing back Swerve after the loss, where he kind of changes up his attitude a little bit, where he changes things, where he rebuilds himself in the factory, so to speak. I think the hero's journey there is important to a character like Swerve right now. And I think if we put the title on him in April, by the time we get to August, it's going to be like, we're going to feel like we haven't done anything with him.
Yeah. I don't see the point in belting Swerve and then trying to build the show around the Mogul Embassy with him as a babyface.
I think the Mogul Embassy is eventually going to have to be broken off of him. And it's just going to be him and Nana.
It's going to have to just be him and Nana. And Nana is going to be just his like goofy babyface character. Hype guy, yeah. And Nana seems to work as that. The rest of the Mogul Embassy is, I think, kind of, they've run their course.
They can't beat anybody either. They put up the Gates of Agony in a match. They
my God, right? They always lose. They always lose.
But everybody's losing on the heel side, and it's kind of ridiculous. I'll get to that in a little bit if we get back to Dynamite. But for my first round pick, tag team wrestling in both NXT and WWE. It's pretty damn good this week. That Creeds versus DIY match, as much as I want to see Brutus Creed do a cannonball off of a ladder at WrestleMania, good for DIY for being able to get into a WrestleMania match. They haven't had one yet, which is kind of shocking given how long they've been in this company. And then the Frazier and Axiom versus the No Quarter Catch Crew match. The end of that run, that was a spectacular tag team match, Chris. That team, as a high-flying babyface tag team, that's everything I want in a tag team right there. They
have such good synergy. Axiom's golden ratio is good, and I will admit that he pops me whenever he makes the jokes about A-Kid. The more and more time goes on, like the funnier they actually get.
But also watching their high flying stuff, it feels like offense versus just doing, tricks.
Yeah, they're always working together too. Yeah. Like they work together in the way that they want the Casey Catanzaro and Katana Chance team.
That's a good call. That's a very good call. Yeah.
Yeah, like they actually do the thing. They're actually doing and brilliantly paired with the No Quarter Catch Crew. The Miles Bourne. I like him. Yeah. I think he's good. He's getting it down. I was thinking about him like, this guy's going to be really sneaky because they're going to eventually find the right character for this dude, and he's going to really take off because he's starting to show the talent and everything already. He's kind of the sleeper of the No Quarter Catch Crew, for as much as I like Damon Kemp.
I mean, but he's perfectly cast in this role as kind of being a young boy too.
Yep.
It's like he's good. He's a good-looking, clean-cut kid, and we'll put him with these grizzled gym rats, and we'll let him find a character within that. But your turn, sir.
Oh yeah, you just said tag team wrestling is back. That's right. That's right. So it is on me. All right. Man, I'm okay. I'm just like looking through the NXT card and seeing if there's anything that I really want to lay down on. I thought that last week's interaction between D'Angelo and Dragunov was pretty good, minus the trunk thing. And the trunk thing only came off as goofier this week when Ilya Dragunov's like, I was left on a bridge alone with my thoughts. And I'm like, it's about as good as you could possibly come up with this. That I think there continues to be a real problem with the writing around the D'Angelo family where they do not know how to fully make these guys unlikable. People are cheering Luca Crucifino's promotion. People are excited that Lorenzo is going to be going up against Ilya Dragunov next week, even though it's the classic, like, soften him up for me. And even D'Angelo doesn't potentially entertain the notion that Lorenzo could possibly beat Dragunov. It's not even about that. But the crowd's still not all the way there on booing the family here. And I think that needs to be, like, they need to be made more dastardly, or I guess I would beg the question, like, does Tony D need to be a heel?
Yeah, I would file this under ironic wrestling fans more than anything. And it's a problem, but it's a problem.
They hurt the show at times.
Well, they need to know how to control that type of fan base too. That's the thing that these kids don't understand how to do yet because they're so young in the business. They don't know crowd feel and crowd control. And if you're being cheered as a heel, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, this is what I was saying about, like, the Okada stuff.
Yeah.
This is my point about the Okada matches. I get it. We're all excited to see world level talent, but he's cast as a heel, and it's the job to sort of push through the irony. Like, these wrestlers need to break through the irony wall.
I appreciate Chris Jericho getting killed by Hook to the point where he didn't even want to take German suplexes anymore. But he should have lost in something
not on a freaking small package.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look, I listened to Dave and Brian talk about this morning. It's like, wow, he gave him a lot of offense for still losing. I was like, that's the point. And that's why people say that nobody gets over by beating Chris Jericho. And look, they made a very good point. It's up to the booker to then follow up on the win. But at the same time, this feels like kind of a half measure win to me. I think this crowd was right. This crowd was correct to boo him not tapping out to the choke and to kind of being deflated at the roll up, because this could have been a really big moment, especially with Taz on commentary, of Hook getting a strong big win. And maybe he caught Jericho, and maybe Jericho was concussed from all the suplexes and whatnot, and really give that strong, clean, no doubt about it win, as opposed to, wow, he killed him for 90% of the match and then caught him in a small package. I didn't understand it. I don't understand why Chris Jericho necessarily needs to be kept strong. Chris, I'll let you go.
No, I have a big problem with this match. I just basically, I hated that Jericho got out of the Red Room.
Yeah.
And especially because Jericho was getting so much of this match. Hook has been booked up to this point, especially in singles matches, as having a pace that other people can't keep up with. And it adds to the mystique, and he has sort of Macho Man syndrome where he's kind of small. So, like, part of what makes a Hook match sort of work is that he's going fast Everything he does is sold like murder death. And he needs to, especially with older guys, make them look like they just absolutely can't possibly keep up with this pace. That Hook comes in and like everything he throws are haymakers.
Yeah.
Even at his size and everything. And like they're just laying into Jericho, and Jericho's taking each one of these and they're hurting him. That needs to be the dynamic. And look, we talked about Jericho not being good. See Ricky Starks, any number of other people who have been, in the Jericho meat grinder here.
Jungle
But
Boy, Action Andretti,
Jungle Boy,
Orange
Action
Cassidy.
Andretti, Orange Cassidy. It's unfortunate.
Sammy.
Yes, oh God, Sammy. Oh, yeah, no, like it's unfortunate that Hook had to win a small package, and the 90-10 banana peel babyface roll up is a WWE trope too.
Yes,
That's the thing I don't see, necessarily, or I haven't heard, gone in on yet.
What do you think because my thinking was that they were going to be a team in this tag team tournament, but they're not. What do you think the offer is? Because I have a weird idea.
The offer for
Jericho says he's going to make him an offer next week.
That Hook gets to rebrand as Ralphus.
Damn it! I thought you were going to take the thing that was my idea and instead you went funny. Okay, I think he's going to offer him the Lionheart moniker, and then Hook's going to say no, and then Jericho's going to turn heel on him.
I mean, that would be good. That would be much more interesting than this.
I don't need heel Jericho anymore. I really don't.
You prefer babyface Jericho?
I want no Jericho for a while.
I know, right? Like I don't actually.
No offense to him, I like him, but he's good in small doses. I don't need him every week.
He's a guy who I don't see a clear role for at this point.
But he wants to maintain his championship, aura, and I'm just like, okay, great, he wants to help. He's. I just want to help.
Well,
then
you should do. Then do it. Then help. If you want to help, then help.
Your turn, sir.
Okay. Boy, Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa are just an absolute charisma vacuum of a tag team. This women's world championship program somehow manages to get worse and worse and worse, and Mercedes just needs to come in and save this thing.
The best promo was done on Twitter between Mariah and Tony after this match, and I can't believe it was so good. I'm angry it wasn't on TV because it was fantastic of them complaining about the loss. But the thing is, why is Deonna already pouting when she asked for Thunder Rosa's help in a tag team match? They won. Why is she upset that she didn't get the win? I understand that. Oh, we're now gonna fast track Deonna as a heel because we absolutely blew it with her as a babyface. But this is just way too quick.
I know. I bet you she joins up with Toni Storm too.
I'm thinking that too, and it's just gonna be dreadful. And Mercedes isn't even on track for this title program. She's on track for Julia Hart's title on the other side over there. And you're just like, let's just get the title off of Tony and get to the Mariah May feud and go with that. But no, I agree with you on that. I'll give a positive for the women this week. Boy, you book a street fight tag team match in the women's division of AEW. It doesn't matter who it is. They're going to come out and try and kill each other. And this was fat. Julia Hart, Sky Blue, got the crap kicked out of them in this match, as did Chris Statlander. And it just goes. This tradition is fascinating to me, Chris, because between Anna Jay and Ty Mello and Sky Blue and all the quote unquote pretty ones, they want to come out and be hardcore. And I'm kind of here for it. Did you watch that Rampage after Dynamite, or did you turn off?
Part of it. I saw like the first half of it, but then I needed to go and catch Dynamite, so
Okay.
I didn't actually get all the way to the street fight. But I
It
know
was,
what
it
happened.
was something, man. It's really good. Your turn, sir.
I did watch Christian and Edge, or Adam Copeland,
What did you think of
and
that?
I enjoyed this.
Okay.
Look, they're gonna work a slower match. You know how they are these days. I actually really admire that these two guys who used to be go-hards in their early 20s have found sort of a slower match style that works for them. You know, it's not the finish with everybody getting involved at the end. You knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But you know what I will say about the booking of the finish that I really liked is that Shayna Wayne walked away from her kid getting handcuffed in an utterly like every week she straddles this line right of almost being sympathetic, right? And she always does things to make herself unsympathetic in the booking and blocking. Like there's an attention to detail to make sure that like she always stays booable.
This was a WWE I Quit match. And I think I wanted more Magnum Tully in terms of like when that hockey stick broke off and there was that point there. It's like kind of like the wooden chair point of that one. You know, kind of want to see him dragging the eye. I mean, look, the hockey fight was clever. Don't get me wrong. Sticking him in a hockey goal was clever. We avoided stupid babyface syndrome at least by having 3 baby faces come out and handcuff the 3 heels.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the last image you see is 3 baby faces beating up a heel to get him handcuffed for an I Quit match. It feels a little goofy versus babyface overcoming the odds. That said, I think there was a bit of an opportunity missed with Copeland like mentally torturing Christian by beating up Nick Wayne and Kill Switch with the bat with spikes.
I think what would have been important there is to show that it meant nothing to Christian.
Yeah, and I think Christian should have just like quit right offhand before he even got hit, and then Edge just going, you know, go F yourself like the beginning of the feud and just going through with it anyways. Don't get me wrong, I love 30 kicks to the balls as a strategy for a quit match. That made me howl. I love it. He's about to hit him in the face. He goes, "Nah, I quit." It's kind of anticlimactic at the same time. It's like you spiked him in the balls twice. You kick him 15 times. Now I'm going to hit you in the face. No, not the face. Can't have that. Not my dashing good looks.
It's like it was satisfying, but dumb. I don't really know how to explain. Right? Like I don't know how to explain it. Like
no, that's
I'm
perfect.
satisfied.
That is.
I'm satisfied with the level of work that Christian and Edge put out there, but that finish was stupid. What needed to happen was the patriarchy needed to be sidelined by Daddy Magic and Daniel Garcia. Totally fine. Do that. But they sideline them so that this match stays focused on Edge and Christian.
Yes.
I think having everybody come in at the end in the final scene of the match was the mistake. Like they could have all been there in the third act, so to say. But having them there right at the end, let alone as Copeland beats Christian, takes away from the personalness of this feud.
And that's what was missing for me. It was a great spot feud, but the personalness of this feud was not there for me.
They needed to focus in the camera back on these two guys who are supposed to be friends who now friggin' hate each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was more of a playful hate versus a real hate type of a thing. I think that's what was missing for me was the emotional resonance of these two really hate each other and are trying to get them to quit so that they could have that one-upsmanship on them type of a thing.
Yeah.
My only other note on AEW this week, the Callis family should have won that tag match against the Best Friends. I'm sorry, both Hobbs and Fletcher came off as killers in that match. the Don Callis family needs a killer team in this stable. And we could have figured out something to do between them and the Undisputed Kingdom where everybody keeps on being a heel and nobody loses type of a thing. I don't give a crap about Orange Cassidy and Trent as a team. I get that they're doing a little feud with the Undisputed Kingdom right now. But if somebody needs a win after Takeshita's lost to Ospreay, Fletcher's lost to Ospreay, Hobbs has lost to everybody. I thought Fletcher and Hobbs were great in this, and they should have just given them the win as a team because we don't have a strong heel stable in this company because nobody takes Taven and Bennett and Roddy and Wardlow, with Adam Cole saying you're shameful to our nobody takes them as the top heel group. The top heel group.
Wardlow has once again been put back in the MJF role. Adam Cole came out and put the promo on Wardlow that like your job is here to do the same stuff that you were doing for MJF, only now you're doing it for me and this faction. All four of us, and no one takes him seriously. You're right. Like Roddy Strong's signature thing right now is just screaming people's names right as he walks on the screen, and like there's no connection to anything anymore. This is a vestige from when he hated Adam Cole and he was being annoying, and now he loves Adam Cole again. So that's not even that.
And meanwhile, Don Callis is getting booed out of the building, and that should be your main heel right there in terms of the stable and stuff. It's maddening to me that they can't see this.
Yeah, I mean, he's just so patently annoying as a character.
Yes,
there's nothing redeemable about this guy.
His stable is actually evil instead of playfully bad guy kind of a thing,
Right.
And Fletcher and even Ospreay as the aerial assassin, they are a bunch of badasses. And it's like that's something that this Undisputed Kingdom can't pull off at all.
I mean, this is the problem with like the slow burn of the Ospreay face turn sort of beggars belief on like how does Don Callis not notice that this is a problem?
Oh, I think they're gonna go full on with Don Callis as a heel manager with a full on baby face Ospreay for a while, and it's gonna stink.
Yeah, I think so too.
Your turn, sir.
All right, let's kick it back over to just real quickly. This is just a quick hit. Two matches, quick hits. Tatum Paxley needs to come in on Roxanne. No. Look. The story is what it is, Jeff.
Okay.
But like Paxley needs to come in on Roxanne Perez and absolutely ambush her. Like she needs to have the upper hand on this because she's really angry because Lyra Valkyria is her friend. Also, when you're going to do the end thing where there's the miscommunication between Paxley and Lyra, that makes that much stronger when you know that Paxley comes in House of Fire and does this. Obviously, Roxanne should win that match. Brindley Reese is a horrible, horrible name for a professional wrestler.
Yes.
And I hope that this person, whoever
is it worse
she is,
than Jasmine Nix?
Jasmine Nix is also very, very bad.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. No, she's also bad. This name generator is breaking down. And with Brindley being like Wilfred Brindley.
She's gonna do diabetes ads. What are you
diabetes?
Diabetes. I'm gonna go to the main roster real quick.
All right.
I think. Have you been at least seeing any of these Rock promos on social media that he's been doing?
The last one I watched was that 21-minute one, but
okay, he did another one. He did another one in the gym. It is just as foul as the other thing, but Vince McMahon possibly rolling in his grave at the mention of to quote Cody Rhodes, small dick energy. I never thought I'd see that on a main roster program ever. And to me, it kind of works. It feels like Cody's coming out there and talking smack, and I kind of like it. What did you think of this promo?
Wait, he said small dick energy?
Yes.
Oh, Cody did.
Cody did.
Okay.
On Raw.
I didn't see this promo.
Oh, you didn't see? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, no. Cody's coming out here. He's controlling. He's like, because Rock was talking about Cody's mother on Friday and handing him the belt, or handing the belt and all bloody. And Cody goes, I'm going to talk about your mother now. She's a very nice woman. Kind of a thing, but at the same time, he's like, he's talking about Rock and all this other. He goes, yeah, you have SDE, small dick energy. I never thought I'd hear that on BJ, because the rumor was that there was some talent that was very upset with Rock being able to cut, promos with swearing and things like that, and they couldn't. I think this is a fake story that has been put out there by WWE. I think they're going to let them go out there and say whatever they want to build this fight. And it's working for me that it's a little bit more adult in nature, to be honest with you, especially nice. Cody, because Cody can ham it up at times, in terms of the melodrama. And look, his delivery here was something. Roman has promised to not have the rest of the bloodline there on Friday. We may get a debut. I don't know, but yeah, I'm liking the story, and I'm liking how they're building this main thing for the most part. I like when it's just one-on-one, but it's weird because it's one-on-one between Rock and Cody, kind of, and it's Roman and Seth are kind of tertiary characters in this drama, which makes it a little odd that the main story is Roman and Cody. But I think they're going to get around to it, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of the slow burn between all four players in this drama.
I did not see Raw. Okay. Full disclosure here. So if you got any other hits on Raw, go ahead, man.
I thought Becky and Nia Jax was perfectly fine. I know a lot of people don't like Nia. She's gotten better.
She's gotten better.
She's not great, but she's gotten better. And look,
she's gotten better.
Becky Rhea is the thing. I'm kind of digging also. It's so weird because he's such a compelling character, but they never do anything with him. I'm liking this whole Andrade El Idolo Judgment Day interaction stuff, where they're kind of kicking the tires on Andrade to join the Judgment Day, but they're not really going full in. It's weird because Andrade is such a natural, charismatic dude, but they never really go all in on it. He's always just the guy in the suit who's acting kind of cool, kind of a thing. So I'd kind of be interested in a heel turn here, but I'm fine if it just turns into Dom Mysterio versus Andrade. The other thing, the Sammy Gunther thing, it's gonna work. They did a third man / Goodfellas type tracking shot with Sammy walking from the ring into the back stage area type of thing. They're trying new production stuff as well while they're doing this entire build the WrestleMania thing that's making things more watchable, which is kind of cool. But all these programs are starting to hit at the right time. The Usos feud, the tag team match that they're filling up with a bunch of guys who are going to do a bunch of crazy stuff off of ladders. I'm actually kind of excited about this WrestleMania. And of course you have Drew McIntyre, who continues to be possibly the greatest heel character they've had in a while. No offense to Gunther, who is also very, very awesome, but there's just something awesome about a guy who is just telling the truth and free to tell the truth. And he's still the bad guy for telling the truth. I'm liking all the programs so far. I wish they'd, the only one that's kind of lagging for me, and it's unfortunate, is the EO Bailey one. I think that's just a language barrier where nobody can cut a promo on anybody. All of a sudden, they're kind of doing kind of goofy stuff on SmackDown over there.
Jimmy and Jay, I think, is a perfectly good program.
But it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
No, it does. It does. But they need to raise the stakes on this. If Jay wins, Jimmy can never interfere in another one of Jay's title matches ever again. And if Jimmy wins, Jay can never challenge for another title again.
Well, see, I think the status would have to be that Jay would have to come back to the bloodline if Jimmy won.
Or Jay can never challenge for another title again without Jimmy.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah, so that, like, Jay never can challenge for a single title again. Even that, so then it's not necessarily without Jimmy, so it's not forever. But basically, Jay would be forced to be a tag wrestler for the rest of his career.
I have one other thing. I assume you have no other notes.
I know I have no other notes because we did Dynamite, we did NXT.
I watched this week's Dark Side of the Ring about Terry Gordy, and I overall like these Dark Sides of the Ring. I can't. They don't feel like they go in depth enough for me at times, and I think there's a there. I mean, look, I liked having both Ray and Miranda Gordy on there. Kind of talk about the kids and the effect on that. It's just one of those things where these aren't to me for hardcore wrestling fans for the most part. They're primers on things you might want to do more research on in the future because it just felt like it just skimmed the surface of Gordy's career for me. But boy, watching him post stroke or after the overdose type of thing where the lights are on and nobody's home type of thing. And I remember the executioner gimmick. Do you remember that in WWE or WWF?
Yeah. Vaguely. It was very short lived.
But I mean, it was interesting the one thing that got to me was it was very interesting to listen to Foley say we were all assuming that because the work was still kind of there, that eventually the mind would come there too. And I was just thinking this entire time, it's like, why would you ever put a guy that doesn't have the mental faculties back in the ring? And especially like he was doing hardcore matches in Japan after that too, with full, and they trusted them implicitly. And I'm like, Cornette put him in the ring in Smoky Mountain. I believe he put the title on him for a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken, but it's just like, things are so different then where it's just like, yes, I will put my safety in your hands, even though we can't have a conversation in the ring because you don't know what's going on right now.
It's so weird how the mind works too. Like, I mean, they probably could prompt him to do an Irish whip, and they probably couldn't say Irish whip and get any level of coherence out of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was doing power bombs, and you're just kind of looking and going, that one was a little snug right there. But yeah, it's yeah, I get a weird feeling watching the Vice ones because it's like I feel like there's more to these stories because there are, and because I've been a fan for so long that them, and they're great primers. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I just feel like I feel like they gloss over a lot in them, and you're just like, well, hold on, I have questions about this type of a thing that they never get to, even with like the two-parters, like about Pillman and stuff. It's just like, well, hold on. Let's talk about this very important issue right now that is just kind of and then we're just gonna move on to the car accident type of a thing. But
didn't they did a Doink the Clown one, right?
Yes, they did, about Matt Bourne.
Yeah, I felt like the thing that they glossed over, which will always be a fascinating thing to me about Matt Bourne, is that there's like 3 years of his life in the mid 80s where he just drops off the face of the earth entirely.
Yeah.
Like, this is a guy who worked a public job where you would appear on bills, you know what I mean? Like the tickets, publicity. He wasn't like, he just disappears, and like they don't.
Well, he goes to another territory once his drug connections are dried up or what. Like,
but even in that era, right? He would go to a different territory. There was a 3-year period where he went to none territory, apparently, or was like working under a different name or something like that. I think it's like 82 to 85 or something like that. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've watched.
I guess it was that period between like Mid-South and Portland, I think.
But if you're doing a Dark Side of the Ring to me, and you hear about a man's missing 3 years, oh shit, that's the next 20 second to the next like B segment of the show, right? The A segment is like a lot of people don't know about Doink the Clown. The B segment is here's what happened in the missing 3 years.
I hate Roxanne Perez as a heel. I'm sorry. I can't deal with that. That's somebody who should be good and pure at all times. I know they want to watch her do range, but I'll end it on that. You can follow me at CrapGame13 on X. You can follow the show at Shake Them Ropes, all one word, on X. You can follow Chris only on Instagram at Dr. Nov, DOCTOR_NOV. We are part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Podcasts are all sorts of your niche interests in professional wrestling. If you want something deeper, go to the flagship. Go to the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast. Go to Days of Thunder, even just breakdowns of all sorts of different wrestling there. Join us on the Discord, voicesofwrestling.com. I'll have the link over there. Come to the Shake Them Ropes channel, heckle me. I need conversation because the only one in there right now is Trisha, and she always downvotes anything I ever say. I am also on Fight Game Media. I do the Dynamite show. We go live on YouTube 20 minutes after Dynamite on Wednesdays, a thorough deconstruction of all things AEW for that night. Myself and Paul Ace Fontaine drops into your audio feeds on the next morning. Chris has varied interests of all kinds, including being a land baron now. He's going to tell you about them.
Yeah, you can follow my continuing saga on Instagram. You can see the cats walking behind me, soon walking on a harness with an extended leash through the neighborhood here, looking at ducks. And if you want music lessons, you can hit me up. We're definitely down to teach some music lessons here. Hit me up on the Instagram, DOCTOR_NOV. And the tram is back open. So if you want to come and see the big old mountain, you can see the big old mountain now. Once again, Sandia Peak, aerial tramway. We're back, baby.
We are back.
Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.